Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
New documents obtained by Rebel News through an access to information request show that Theresa Tam, Trudeau's public health officer, had a deep conflict of interest with the China-controlled World Health Organization all throughout the key moments of the pandemic. She was on their staff. She was loyal to them. She had to be. She signed an agreement with them to keep their secrets confidential, even to keep their secrets from Canadians. Stop right there for a moment. Theresa Tam, whose job it was, we thought, to protect us from the virus that came from China, she signed a contract forbidding her from telling us things she found out about the virus at the World Health Organization, if it would embarrass her bosses at the China-controlled WHO. That is a conflict of interest. That's a conflict of loyalties. She was loyal to them, not to us, and we know this because she signed a contract to that effect. That's one of the reasons we set up our petition at firetam.com, a petition that now has over 50,000 signatures. You just can't obey China's WHO and also be loyal to Canada. You can't, because they're at odds. Derek Sloan made that same point during his campaign for Conservative leader. He was denounced as racist, as if it was a racial thing. Yeah, it's not racist to criticize the country of China, the dictatorship, the government of China. This got nothing to do with Tam's ethnicity. It has to do with her pledging loyalty to the WHO, the chief instrument that China used to lie to the West about the pandemic. I mean, remember this tweet here? Preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus 2019, identified in Wuhan, China. That was a lie. That cost millions of lives and trillions of dollars. But Theresa Tam worked for them while also claiming to work for us. Well, you can't do both. So let's dive right into the access to information documents. You can see all of them at a link underneath this video for yourself. The documents cover one of the most important meetings that the World Health Organization had in the pandemic. It was very early. It was in January, right around when they were pumping out lies like that tweet I just read to you, saying the virus isn't a problem, don't you worry, China says. So China was banning flights from Wuhan to Beijing or other Chinese cities, but they were telling the West not to worry about it, saying you can't catch it. And their chief tool of propaganda was the WHO, the World Health Organization. Well, it was obvious to pretty much everyone what was going on pretty soon. So the WHO called an emergency meeting about the virus. It was so important, this meeting, that major newspapers like The Guardian from Manchester did a moment-by-moment analysis of it. I've shown you this story before. It's fascinating. Here's their sort of TikTok hour-by-hour report. Caught in a superpower struggle, the inside story of the World Health Organization's response to coronavirus. Caught between the US and China, the World Health Body has been unable to enforce compliance or information sharing. Now, by the way, The Guardian loves the UN, they love China, so this is not right-wing propaganda. It was at this meeting that China insisted there was no pandemic. Nothing was an emergency. Everything was fine. And would people please just shut up? So that was China's point of view. That's China's interests. And of course, China controls the World Health Organization, so it became the WHO's interest. Here, let me read a couple of key paragraphs from The Guardian. China argued against declaring an emergency on the 22nd of January, but could not have carried the argument alone. The other emergency members and advisors were experts from the US, Thailand, Russia, France, South Korea, Canada, Japan, Netherlands, Australia, Senegal, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, and New Zealand. So do you understand what was happening? There was a big vote. America wanted to call it a pandemic. China said no. So whose side was Canada on? Because there was a vote. Let me read. Their advice is confidential, but for the vote to have been split, several Western or Western-aligned representatives must have voted with Beijing. Here's one of the conclusions The Guardian drew. Again and again, the events of January reflected the difficulties Tedros, that's the Chinese installed head of the World Health Organization, Tedros and his organization faced in negotiating a path between two hostile superpowers and the egos of their leaders without any independent powers to enforce compliance and information sharing. Got it. So this was the big meeting by the big bosses at the China-controlled WHO. Does the WHO continue to lie to cover up for China, or do they ring the alarm for the whole world? Well, guess who was at that meeting for Canada? Theresa Tam. She was one of the big shots at that secret meeting. And to this day, she will not tell us who she voted for, China or the rest of the world. Look at page 2 of the access to information request we received from the government. Tam was not just an observer at this meeting. She was an advisor. She gave advice. What advice did she give? Did she provide advice to keep China's secrets? Or did she say, we've got to warn the world? Why can't we know what she did and said? Theresa Tam wanted to be much more than just an observer. You know, I sort of wish we had an observer there, someone who would have observed and then reported back to us here in Canada to let us know what was really happening. Someone loyal to us first, just watching China lie, not being part of the lie. Instead, she said, have you heard whether I will be participating as an observer? She really was excited about being a player. But look at page 5 of the documents. She had to disclose all of her conflicts of interest to the China-run World Health Organization. So she had to disclose other things, other interests, other loyalties to them. But Trudeau has never made her, to this day, disclose her conflicts to us. And look at this. She had to agree to keep China's secrets. Please recall that participation in any aspect of an IHR emergency committee is subject to the following mandatory requirements: continuing compliance with the requirements in the confidentiality undertaking and copyright assignment, which will be sent to you; continuing compliance with the requirements in the Declaration of Interest for World Health Organization experts. Please note that compliance with the provisions in the Declaration of Interest for World Health Organization experts is an initial and ongoing obligation. Accordingly, should actual or potential conflicts exist, arise, or become known before or after participation in an emergency committee has been commenced, continued participation may be disallowed, disclosures required, or other steps taken as determined by the Director General. So she can't tell us what happened. She's got to keep those secrets forever. She swore herself to secrecy. That's what confidentiality means. To protect China's secrets. She can't tell us. And indeed she hasn't, has she? Tam continued to work for the World Health Organization for months, parroting their advice here. She didn't deviate a word from their official line, did she? How could she? She worked for them. She swore an oath of loyalty to them. And what a laugh. When the Trudeau government got worried that someone might ask questions about this, their proposed spin was that, oh, no. She's just there in her personal capacity, nothing official. It's just her hobby, you know. I mean, some people collect stamps. Some people build model railways. Some people are on the secret World Health Organization committee voting to keep China's secrets about the Wuhan virus as long as possible. Of course, it's not personal. We know this in part because we got government documents on it. The government was nervous about this. Someone in Trudeau's Parliamentary Affairs branch started asking for a draft question and answers on her various World Health Organization roles in her personal capacity. They wanted to get ready for a parliamentary committee. They were worried someone might ask. These are the questions they were worried about, and they had spin doctors ready to go. About World Health Organization. Question: why is the federal government allowing so many temporary foreign workers into Canada when there is so much unemployment and there is also a high risk of importing additional cases of COVID-19? So they had a few people ready to answer that. Question: how will the federal government guarantee that temporary foreign workers will not become a source of additional COVID? You can see the spin doctors there. Here's a good one. Why is Canada continuing to support the World Health Organization when other countries have either halted or are reconsidering their support? And Foreign Affairs is going to answer that. But here's the key one. Look at this. By the way, I don't think any of these questions were ever asked. Here's the key question. As a member of the Independent Oversight and Advisory Committee at the World Health Organization, what has Dr. Theresa Tam done to improve this organization? And here are the 4 spin doctors for that. Of course, I don't think anyone cares what she would have done to improve them. It's to protect us that's more important. But that's the funny thing. No one ever asked these questions, did they? Trudeau's staff were so worried people would ask accountability questions. Why are you even in the World Health Organization? Why are you letting people still flow into the country? What did Theresa Tam do to fix things? But I don't think anyone ever asked those. I don't think the Conservative Party did either, except Eric Sloan. The media party didn't, because they all love Theresa Tam. Sure, she's been wrong on every single issue since the beginning. Sure, she's really creepy sometimes with bizarre advice about wearing masks when you have sex. Surely she's flip-flopped and basically said whatever China and the World Health Organization have said on everything from the transmissibility and flights and masks, whatever. Sure, she calls anyone who worried about the virus racist, especially those who wanted to cut off flights from China a year ago. But she's the high priestess of the lockdowns. And they love that. The media does, the political class, they all love her. So I'm quite sure that while these access to information documents I show you here will shock you, how loyal she was to China, how she swore she'd keep China's secrets, and indeed she has. These documents might shock you, but I don't think they will even be so much as reported on by the mainstream media or picked up by the Conservative Party, let alone be a cause for scandal as they ought to be. Of course, Theresa Tam obeys China's World Health Organization and the UN. I mean, so does Justin Trudeau. And that never bothered the media, did it? That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.